Pats Nation, how are we feeling today? With each passing day, the excitement keeps growing because the season is just around the corner. And I know I'm not the only one already dreaming about Gillette Stadium packed, the anthem playing, and our team stepping onto the field ready to write a brand new chapter. Behind the scenes, things are heating up. There are important moves happening, and honestly, what I'm about to share with you could seriously change the direction of the Patriots moving forward. But before we dive into all the details, make sure you smash that like button if you carry that red, blue, and silver pride in your heart. And I want to see you dropping this in the comments. Go Pats! Let's stay strong. All right, now let's jump straight into the news that's been making waves. Something unusual is happening in Foxborough right now, and it might just change the course of this Patriots roster in ways none of us expected. With cutdown day looming, the team faces one of the toughest and most defining moments of the preseason. Tomorrow, by 4 p.m. Eastern, New England must trim the roster down to 53 players, but instead of simply cutting names off the list, the Patriots are making last-minute moves to try and extract value where they can. That's right, before making those difficult decisions, the front office has placed 2 more players on the trade block, hoping that at least some team out there might take the bait. It's a risky play, but it tells us a lot about how this organization views its current situation. The first major headline came even before these trade rumors surfaced. Injured guard Layden Robinson was waived, and this wasn't just some fringe player. Robinson was a second-round pick from last year's draft class, and the fact that he's already out of the picture is nothing short of alarming. When you step back and look at the entire 2024 draft class, the picture gets even darker. Aside from rookie quarterback Jerod Mayo, who has shown real promise, the rest of that class looks like a complete disaster. Polk landed on injured reserve and likely would have been cut otherwise. Caden Wallace is on the bubble. Javon Baker may not survive cutdown day either. Marcellus Dallas tore his ACL and is lost for the year. Joe Milton has already been traded. Jaheim Bell was released early in the first wave of cuts. One by one, that class has crumbled, and only Maye looks like a player worth building around. Think about that. Just 1 year removed from the draft, and there's a very real chance that only a single player remains on the active roster. That is a stunning failure. For a team that has spent the better part of 2 decades priding itself on roster depth and smart scouting, to see an entire class flame out this quickly is almost unthinkable. Fans can point fingers wherever they want, but there's no doubt the personnel decisions made last year have put this team in a tough spot. A draft is supposed to provide the foundation
for years to come, but this one has left nothing but question marks and wasted opportunities. And that's where the trade block comes in. The Patriots are clearly scrambling to find ways to recoup something, anything, before moving on. 2 names that jumped out immediately: offensive tackles Vidarian Lowe and Rhamondre Jacobs. Let's start with Lowe. Last year, he started 13 games for New England, and the results were brutal. He allowed 5 sacks, committed 13 penalties, and earned some of the lowest Pro Football Focus grades in the league, just 54 overall, with a 66.9 pass blocking grade and a 45.8 run blocking grade. Those are numbers you simply cannot live with from a starting tackle. In fact, his struggles were part of the reason the offensive line as a whole ranked among the bottom 3 in the NFL across nearly every measurable category. And yet, the Patriots are now testing the waters, seeing if maybe, just maybe, some desperate team in need of depth would give up a late-round pick for him. 6th round? 7th round? The truth is, it's hard to imagine anyone biting. Lowe's tape doesn't lie. And if you're another GM watching his film from last season, you're not exactly racing to pick up the phone. But in fairness, he did play significant snaps, and sometimes in the NFL, availability alone can draw interest from teams who are scrambling. That might be the only hope New England has of getting any return here. As for Rhamondre Jacobs, his case might be even worse. He played 15 games and gave up 9 sacks, nearly double Lowe's total. His penalties were nearly just as costly, 11 flags, and his PFF grades were abysmal. A 43.1 pass blocking grade, 41.9 run blocking grade. To put it simply, he was one of the weakest starting tackles in the league. When you look back at how often Patriots quarterbacks were pressured, hit, and ultimately sacked, Jacobs' role in that breakdown is impossible to ignore. Together, he and Lowe formed a nightmare duo that allowed defenses to feast. So why put them on the trade block now? The reality is simple. New England knows they're unlikely to make the final 53. Rather than outright cutting them, the team is trying to squeeze out whatever value they can before the clock runs out. The harsh truth, however, is that rival teams aren't blind. Scouts across the league have already graded these players, and no front office is going to part with meaningful draft capital for linemen who struggled this badly. At best, New England might land a conditional 7th rounder, or perhaps even a player-for-player swap with another team's struggling backup. And this goes beyond just the offensive line. The trade block has also included names like Kyle Duggar and Anthony Jennings. Duggar, in particular, drew some buzz when Ian Rappaport reported the Patriots were shopping him. But here's the catch. That news actually came days after the initial report from local insiders. That delay suggests that the Patriots weren't generating interest and needed to amplify the story to the national media, hoping to attract suitors. If that's true, it paints a concerning picture. A key defensive piece, one fans expected to be part of the core, is now being dangled in trade talks, but with no real traction. All of this leads into one defining deadline, tomorrow's cutdown. Decisions have to be made, and quickly. Lowe's odds of sticking around are slim. Jennings could be gone. Duggar's situation is uncertain, but the lack of offers speaks volumes. And the 2024 draft class, save for Maye, is already being written off as one of the worst in Patriots history. For fans, this raises huge questions. How did things fall apart so quickly? And how much faith should we place in the front office to get it right moving forward? The truth is, this moment feels like a crossroads. On one hand, the Patriots have made some smart moves to revamp the offensive line, bringing in Will Campbell and shuffling depth to create better protection for the future. On the other hand, the recent past, the draft failures, the wasted picks, the underperforming veterans, still hangs over the team like a storm cloud. Tomorrow, we'll get a clearer picture of who this roster really is, and whether the Patriots are serious about rebuilding the right way. But here's where I turn it over to you. What do you make of all this? Should the Patriots cut ties completely with players like Lowe and Jacobs, or is there even a sliver of value in trying to keep them as backups? And when it comes to the draft, how much of the blame falls on the front office for last year's failures? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those moments where the fan base needs to be heard. And here's the thing, when we talk about this roster and the direction of the Patriots, it isn't just about who makes the 53-man cut tomorrow. It's about the bigger picture of how this team has been built, and whether the mistakes of the past are being corrected or repeated. That's why the moves we're seeing right now, especially around the offensive line, are so telling. If you watched New England at all last season, you know the offensive line was not just a weak spot, it was a liability. Bottom 3 in the league across every major category. Quarterbacks had no time to throw, the running game was inconsistent, and penalties piled up. That's not a recipe for success in the AFC East, a division stacked with dangerous pass rushers. So when the Patriots drafted Will Campbell at number 4 overall this year, it wasn't just a pick, it was an admission that the line needed a foundational reset. Campbell has the tools to be a long-term solution, but the presence of guys like Vidarian Lowe and Dantrey Jacobs on the roster shows how far the line had fallen. Trying to shop them now only underlines that reality. These were starting tackles a year ago, and today the team is practically begging for any return before they're inevitably cut loose. That's a stunning fall from grace in just one season, and it shows how aggressively the team is trying to move forward. But there's another layer to this, depth. It's one thing to overhaul the starting 5, but in the NFL, injuries are inevitable. Depth matters, and right now, that's the big